Okay, great afternoon and namaste. Somebody has asked about the Manudkya Upanishad. So I'm going to sit here and I've got the translation here, read it, and see if I can explain what it is. I haven't read it, so we'll see how this goes. Okay. It says, all is Om. Hari Om. The whole universe is the syllable Om. Following is the exposition of Om. Everything that was, is, or will be is in truth Om. All else which transcends time, space, and causation is also Om. Okay, well, if you've ever heard the nod and you've heard the Om, it's eternal. There's no beginning and no end to it. Okay, it's very hard to explain how you can hear the whole of the word Om and yet it's unending, eternal. No beginning, no end. So everything that you see or you don't see is made up of a vibration. All of it is energy. And Om is the first projection of that energy. It is the energy at heart. Therefore, it runs like a continuum of a thread through all of creation. Okay? That's the first vibration, Om. Okay? So let's go on forward. Atman has 4 aspects. All of this everywhere is in truth Brahman, the absolute reality. Brahman or Parabrahman, beyond Brahman. Okay. This very self itself, Atman, is also Brahman, the absolute reality. This Atman or self has 4 aspects through which it operates. Okay, Atman again is a first projection. There is Parabrahman, okay, and Brahman is that which is seen, okay, the seen world, Shakti, the divisionary world, okay, that which is taken on color, that which is taken on form, even though its subtle form is Atman. Okay. Beyond that is Parabrahman. Parabrahman is not in this ideation of a meism, ego, separation, even though it's still connected, because nothing exists without Parabrahman. When it has that first expression and things start moving and Shakti gives this appearance of subdivision, then you have Brahman or Atman. Atman, again, is when Brahman has taken on some identification within form or even subtle form. Okay. So let's see what else we have. It says it's got the 4 aspects through which it operates. The first is waking or the gross. Okay. Gross form. The first aspect of Atman is in the self in the waking state. Okay. Vaishvanara, in this first state, consciousness is turned outward to the external world through its 7 instruments and 19 channels. It experiences the gross objects of the phenomenal world. Okay, well, that's talking about the chakra system, what's called chakras, or they are levels and layers of consciousness. Okay, so that's what that's talking about. And it's when everything out, it's like when you go to Khajuraho, you go to the temples. When you're standing on the steps, you're looking out at the gross world. When you go into the temple, and you look at the temple, and outside the temple is all the friezes, the sculptures of life outside. Okay, what is life in the gross world? Okay, As you go into the temple, things get more quiet and you leave that behind and you go to more subtle realms, subtle realms, subtle realms. So again, they said the 7 instruments are the most macrocosmic instruments, while the 19 channels relate to more microcosmic individual person. Okay. The 7 instruments. First, consciousness manifests outward as element, space, air, fire, water, and earth, along with the individuation from the whole and the flow of energy, which we know as pulsing impulse towards breath. Okay, it's just talking about, how these things came into being, what developed first. Okay, 19 channels. The individual operates through the 4 functions of mind, aspects of Antakarana, the inner instrument, which are manas, chitta, ahamkara, and buddhi. Those 4 operate through the 5 vayus, prana, apana, samana, udana, and vyana. The 5 active senses or indriyas, karmendriyas of eliminating, procreating, moving, grasping, speaking, and the 5 cognitive senses of smelling, tasting, seeing, touching, and hearing. Okay, it's all the things that just happen through the physical form. Okay, that's all. It's talking about the gross experience of physical form. That which you can touch, taste, hear, see, those most gross elements. The second is dreaming, or subtle, more subtle realm. The second aspect of Atman is the self in the dreaming state. Taijasa, in this second state, consciousness is turned towards the inner world. It also operates through 7 instruments and 19 channels, which engage the subtle objects of the mental realm. Okay, it's, again, the 7 layers of consciousness. You're starting to become aware of the inner world of consciousness. What the mind focuses on is what it creates more and more of the same of. Okay, and you have the 7 layers or the 7 aspects of what we call the chakra system, layers of consciousness. The first is definitely on the realm of just survival. Okay, then you have personal, then you have the sexual aspect, you have personal power where you hold your thing, you have the heart aspect, you have the throat aspect, what's spoken, these types of things. So you get into more and more subtle realms as one progresses through the layers and levels of consciousness. Okay. Next we have, the third is deep sleep, causal. The third aspect of Atman is the self operating in the deep sleep state. Prajna, in this third state, there is neither the desire for any gross or a subtle object, nor any dream sequences. In deep sleep, all such experience have receded or merged into the ground of undifferentiated consciousness. Here, one is filled with the experience of bliss, one will also find the way to clearer knowledge of the 2 preceding states. Yeah, once all of that stuff deconstructs, okay, one goes into the sleep, the dreamless state. After realization, one enters into the dreamless state. Okay, that's the norm at that juncture of being. Okay. Next we go, find the experiencer. The one who experiences all of these states of consciousness is the omniscient, indwelling source and director of all. This one is the womb out of which all of the other emerges. All things originate from and dissolve back into the source. Yeah, everything comes from Parabrahman. Okay? Everything is projected from there and goes back within that. In the moment of realization, there is no world, there is no you, There's only that divine is, Pada Brahman, that eternal source. And at that moment, everything is revealed. I've never been born. I've never died. I've always been this eternal source. There's nothing that exists outside of this. There is nothing that exists that it is not this. And this ideation of being a separate person experiencing, because this is not something you see or you feel with any of your senses. This is beyond experiences with your five senses. Something way beyond that. Okay. But once that those illusions have broken and one awakes from the dream, okay. Now again, when you're going through Kundalini journey, you'll have experiences that show you what a dream state is. You'll have lucid dreams. You'll be able to navigate through the dream, and then you see it. At one point you go, the dreaming, is the dreaming world real, or is this world real? Okay, all of those things are there to challenge and to show you there's something more than what's being seen by the gross physical self. Okay, let's keep going. Get something to drink. Sorry about that. I have something in my throat that's just irritating. So, the fourth aspect is Turiya. The fourth aspect of Atman or self is Turiya, literally the fourth. In this fourth state, consciousness is neither turned outward nor inward. Nor is it both outward and inward. It is beyond both cognition and the absence of cognition. The fourth state of Turiya cannot be experienced through the senses or known by comparison, deductive reasoning, or inference. It is indescribable, incomprehensible, unthinkable with the mind. Yeah, it's beyond words. All words come out of duality. Okay, some sort of an expression. This is beyond that. It's serene, tranquil, filled with bliss, one without a second. This is the real or true self that has to be realized. Well, it's beyond the self. Okay. When you say self, people want to equate that with ego. Okay. It's never actually been ego. It allows ego to function. It allows ego to have a sense of form and to have a sense of experience. But Pada Brahman is never confused by any of the happenings. You know, it just simply is. People think that Pada Brahman is sitting there like looking through our eyes and expressing and having those feelings. It's not like that. It's not like that. Pada Brahman is always in this state of just is. Pregnant void, that which allows everything to come into being. It's primal. It just is simply, you again, it's not expressible in words. It is pregnant life. It's beyond expression. It's just perfection. It's an energy of absolute perfection, which allows all to be. Okay, so let me go forward. Those four are the same with Om and silence. That Om, though described as having four states, is indivisible. Yeah. It's always eternal. You hear the whole thing at once, but yet it's eternal. It never ends. It's, again, very hard to describe when you hear a whole word at one time, and yet it's eternal, unchanging, unmoving. Okay. It's pure consciousness itself. That consciousness is Om. The three sounds, Aum, and the three letters, A-U-M, are identical with the three states of waking, dreaming, and sleeping. And these three states are identical with the three sounds and letters. The fourth state, Turiya, is to be realized only in the silence behind or beyond the other three. Okay. Well, they say behind. It's actually in the midst of it. You hear the silence within the sound and the sound within the silence once you get to a certain part of the path. Okay. All sound has silence within it at the core of being. Okay. So let's go forward. The sound A is waking, gross. Vaishnavara is the consciousness experienced during the waking state. It is the A, the first letter of Om. That simple sound of A is first and permeates all other sounds. It's the one who is aware of this first level of reality, has fulfillment of all longings, and is successful. Okay. It's the start of the path. Okay. It's one that knows they're on a path, and certain things will open along the way. You'll get you come to a point where anything you want to know in the phenomenal world you can know. Okay, as cities arise, you just become more aware of what's possible within this physical realm, of gross realm. You finally find out that everything is consciousness. Everything is energy. Okay? So let's go forward. Taijasa is the consciousness experienced during the dreaming state, or you, the second letter of Om. It's the intermediate state, operates between waking and sleeping states, reflecting some qualities of the other two. One who knows the subtler state is superior to others. Well, superior. No, you're not superior, okay? For one who knows this knowers of Brahman, the absolute reality, will be born into his family. Okay. Well, once you start getting into those subtle regions where they say you're born in, it's just coming to, the difference between being a Buddha and not is one's awakened to what's reality versus being stuck in the dream. That's all. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden you've got more of Pada Brahman than somebody else. Everybody's got exactly the same amount within. The only difference is some are aware and some are not. That's all. Doesn't make you higher, more special, more, just gives the ability to be able to speak, to try to convey. But everybody's got to walk that path themselves and come to that. You can't hand it to somebody. It doesn't matter how much I want to try to explain it until it's experienced, until this me-ism, ideation of a me-ism dismantles, and you see the fallacy of that, okay? When it implodes and all of a sudden you've never been, and you find out your whole thing was some soap opera, okay? And all your suffering was promoted by your own illusion. It's rather startling, okay? So let's continue forward. The sound M is deep sleep, causal. Prajna is the consciousness experienced during the state of dreamless deep sleep. M is the third letter of Om. It contains the other two, that from which the other two emerge, and into they recede or merge. A knower of this more subtle state can understand all within himself. Well, there is no himself to understand within anymore. Okay? If he's understanding it within himself, then he's got some concept of ideation that he thinks he has, okay? Because at the moment, at the moment of realization, that implodes. This idea of being a separate me-ism is gone. It's over. That illusion is broken through, okay? No longer remains. It's not something that is thought about any longer. It's not something that is just simply not. Okay. Silence after Om is the true self. The fourth aspect is the soundless aspect of Om. It's not utterable. It's not comprehended through the senses or by the mind. With the cessation of all phenomena, even of bliss, yeah, it's beyond bliss, okay? It's beyond light. Even though you call it the light, it's a light beyond lights. It's not a light that one sees with physical eyes, a light, okay? I think that, again, one tries, you can only try to explain with words, and all the words come from duality, so there's nothing really in the world of duality that can explain this. That's why they have the saying, those that speak do not know, and those that know do not speak, because it's beyond words. You can try to say, but it's never going to be the exact rendering of what the consciousness remains within, okay? The fourth state, the soundless aspects become known. It is a state of non-dual or Advaita reality, one without a second. Well, that's it, one without a second. Like I said, the persona implodes, and you see that I've always been this. Okay? I'm not that dream, I'm not that story. I am this unending, without beginning, without end, this energy. I am that. I've always been that, will always be that. And one knows at that point of time that everything is indeed eternal. This body can come and go, doesn't have anything to do with anything. But that consciousness will continue forward into a different form, into a different thing. Okay? Just continues forward. That's all. Fourth state, Turiya, is the real self or true self, one with direct experience of this expands to universal consciousness. Well, there's nothing to expand to. Again, expands to. You've always been that. Okay? So I hope this hasn't confused more. It's just more talking about the levels and layers. When you start a path, you begin to question. You start with, the gross realm, what you're experiencing through your five senses. And then as one continues your journey, you start becoming more, instead of externalized, you become more internalized. You reach a point of being in observation, witness state. And during that point, sometimes you'll feel like you're here and you're not here. You start having those type of experiences. One moment you're in the body, the next second your consciousness is above the trees. All of these things are there just to break down this idea of being some singular, physical, heavy, gross form. Okay. So that's all. It's just describing the path and what is Brahman or Atman, the first projection, a projection into, identifiable is. Okay. And is with, what's the word? Not projections, the word with, it's taken on aspects, okay? Is taken on aspects of separation, Shakti, okay, to do the dance for a time. That's all. But Pada Brahman has none of those identifications. Never, okay? And Pada Brahman runs like a thread through all of existence. That's all. Simple. Okay. So anyway, thank you for your question. Hopefully this has explained it a little more. If you want to know more about the levels, layers of consciousness, you can read my book, Kundalini from Hell to Heaven. It goes and speaks about those levels and layers of consciousness, aka misnomered as chakra system, okay? But they are levels and layers of consciousness, that's all. Okay, thank you for tuning in. See you online. Have a great day. Namaste.